Hey, I finally got the chance to see The Dark Knight Rises tonight. I record some thoughts about it. Now, of course, everyone is looking forward to The Dark Knight Rises, and I'm a little bit late about getting my review of this one, like, just because I haven't been able to get to the theater very often this summer. But yeah, I was excited to listen to anyone, and I was so excited that I basically decided to keep myself isolated from any news about this movie. I mean, yeah, I paid attention to the casting and who the villains were going to be, but I decided to try to avoid any stories or reviews or stuff that would get me that tell me too much about the story. I did not want to know what this movie was about before I saw it. I wanted to be pretty much as fresh as I could be coming into it. So, so the story for the movie, for the maybe 4 or 5 people out there who haven't seen it already, is takes place 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight. Uh, Bruce Wayne has basically stopped the Batman after those events because basically the entire police would be after him in force. We get some good sense of that in this movie. After Harvey Dent died, and he was raised up as a hero in place of Batman, the police passed legislation giving them more authority, more ability to throw people in jail if they're connected to organized crime. And as a result, Gotham City has become a very safe, pretty much crime, or at least organized crime-free place to live. And Bruce Wayne has become somewhat of a recluse. I mean, he hasn't been leaving the Wayne Manor at all. He's kind of retreated from running Wayne Enterprises. It's mentioned that after a project he was working on failed or was canceled, a project involving clean energy, he decided to basically withdraw from running any part of the country, any part of the company, at all, although that does become a more important plot point later in the movie. And but just as everything seems to be going fine, a new villain shows up. The main villain in this movie is the villain Bale. He's portrayed as a terrorist leader of sorts who is broken out of an airplane in a very spectacular opening sequence and invades Gotham City to try to take back Gotham City from the rich, wealthy people who he feels have been robbing the poor people of the city that he believes belongs to them. Although later turns out that he's actually in the pay of one of the rich people of the city, or maybe he isn't. You never really tell how the plot works and stuff like this. And eventually he performed large-scale attacks on the city with a large number of mercenaries he had at his disposal, and they all try to take over the city and run it until something big can happen. Well, not spoil for the people who have not seen this movie. Bane is played in this movie by Tom Hardy. You might recognize him. He was Eames in Inception. He's also in movies like This Means War, and a few others. He's really going to be a big action star soon. He does very well as Bane, although it is kind of tough to hear some of his dialogue because he has to wear this mask that also kind of obscures it, but he was a lot more charismatic than I expected him to be. He's not going to be like the big goofy sluggers and Bane that we saw in Batman and Robin. Of course, it's not going to be like in Batman and Robin, but yeah. Bane is a very smart, very charismatic guy. You believe him that he's able to enlist the mercenaries and people to help his cause. Although I have my doubts that he'll end up being as iconic as Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight. He is a very good villain here, and one of the reasons he's such a good villain is that he is a match for Batman, both in terms of fighting strength and in terms of charisma and symbolism. And Batman and Bane have really deep connections in this movie. Some, of course, I don't want to have to spoil for you, but he makes a very good villain just because in many ways he has lots of really similarities to Batman, and often they seem to be fighting for the same thing through different perspectives. There's another antagonistic character in this movie. That's Catherine. She's played by Anne Hathaway. Although she does not appear at the forefront of this movie. She has her own motivations to do certain things. She does the cat burglary thing, and she does do some fighting with a different character, but she never seems to be on anyone's particular side. She does her own thing, and she has her own motivations, which is exactly how Catwoman should operate in this. I really like the way they handle her in the movie, even though she does lose a bit of, she does get kind of lost in the shuffle after some of the major events that Bane does, particularly after she actually finally gets arrested. She gets lost in the shuffle for a while, but she comes back with a vengeance during the final action sequence from the movie, and also just very well there. The cast is really where this movie is at its best. There are lots of good actors here, all give good performances, and Christian Bale, of course, is Batman again, excuse me, and he probably does the best of all three of his performances as Batman. Batman Begins and Dark Knight. He's probably at his best here. Michael Caine is back as Alfred, but he did not get much screen time in this movie. But he's good in the scenes we see him. Morgan Freeman is, of course, back as Lucius Fox. Morgan Freeman is great as always. There's never been a bad Morgan Freeman performance, I believe. Then there's also Marion Cotillard. She plays a member of a board of Wayne Enterprises who becomes a love interest to Bruce Wayne and was part of that an alternative energy project that Wayne is working on that I mentioned before. Also showing up and probably makes the most dramatic impact of all these new characters. There are a ton of new characters in this movie. It's a very large cast. There's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, of course, who last appeared in Inception, also like Christopher Nolan. He does a very good job as a police officer who goes to Commissioner Gordon, played by Gary Oldman, of course, who is trying to help him out. He makes a very good impact here. He just has a strong, smart policeman who has a very good sense of what's going on and what's the right thing to do. Once again, I don't want to have to reveal too much about his character without getting into spoilers, but he does a very good job. He's a very good character. One of the odd things about this movie is that Batman, as Batman, does not get a whole lot of screen time, especially in comparison to the other movies. I mean, the strength of this movie, the thing that makes it better than both the Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher movies, is that the emphasis is on Bruce Wayne and Batman and how the two personas kind of intersect. But Bruce Wayne gets a heck of a lot more screen time in this movie than Batman does. And although there are some very good action sequences here, Batman in and of himself does not get a whole lot of screen time. So, or maybe it just seems like he doesn't get a whole lot of screen time because the movie is pretty long. But just because it's long doesn't mean it's slow. It's a very fast-paced movie. You do get a very good sense of what's going on here, even though it's a very complicated plot. And sometimes certain characters and motivations can kind of get lost in the shuffle. Others seem to be kind of missed here and there. But Christopher Nolan does a very good job of keeping our attention and turning these little character moments aside from the main story, giving the build up and payoff at different times during the movie. And as I said, Bane makes a very good villain, very charismatic villain, although he's not quite as iconic as the Joker. And Hathaway makes a very good Catwoman. All the supporting cast is good. The action sequences are very good. The fight scenes are clear and very well done. The different gadgets and strategies that Batman uses to try to take down the different bad guys that he faces are well done. There are some cool chase sequences here. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's really cool in this movie. But overall, I'm really not sure exactly how much I like this movie. I mean, I know I like it a lot. I know it's an excellent superhero movie, but it just didn't have, right now, just as much of an impact on me as when I saw The Dark Knight. I mean, when I walked out of The Dark Knight, I was like, wow, I had not seen something like that before. I did not see that coming. This one I felt really nice. Yeah, and that was a very good movie, a very satisfying end to this Batman trilogy, but I didn't really feel as if I was not shaken as much. It was not quite impacted as much as the Dark Knight did, which is kind of odd because this is a much more overtly political movie than the Dark Knight was. I mean, there's lots has been said about this is a conservative movie or a liberal movie or what the different characters mean represent and how much it's supposed to be taken to Occupy Wall Street and stuff like that. And that stuff's very interesting. I like how they're going to ask those sorts of questions in this movie. But with all these complicated character motivations and all of the characters, there's just a huge cast of the movie. Despite this whole huge scale, big action sequences, all these new characters, all of this complicated plot lines, just did not quite impact me. It's just like the simple and direct dynamic of the law of Batman versus the chaos of the Joker, the order versus anarchy you think of the Dark Knight was a much more direct and much more dramatic difference than even something like the Dark Knight Rises between Batman and Bane, who I imagine can be seen as having very similar things. But the strength of this movie is in the characters, the strength is in the action sequences. It's a very good movie. I recommend you see it. And I can very well see myself, maybe upon repeat viewings or just upon thinking about it more, I can very much see myself appreciating this movie more as I think about it and see it more. It's a very, very good movie. I'm not sure it's going to be as well remembered as The Dark Knight. It's going to be remembered as part of the trilogy, as the conclusion to the trilogy that ties everything together extremely well. But the very last few minutes of this movie do a great job at tying just everything together, finishing all the little plot lines and here and there, giving every character a satisfying conclusion, and brings the entire thing completely full circle in every way you can imagine. It's a great conclusion to the series, not quite as good as The Dark Knight. I'm not sure how I would compare it to Batman Begins. I haven't seen Batman Begins in a while, but it was a very good movie. I recommend you see it, especially if you're just a big fan of Batman or a big fan of comic book movies in general.